of the resources and the ideas for marketers these days is so vast and so amazing. There are so many great places for us to go to get inspiration and ideas to solve these challenges. And my argument is, if we think about it within just auto, I think we're missing out on a pretty big opportunity. So what keeps me up at night is obviously things like data, understanding it, telling better stories with it. How do you see around corners, which is one of my favorite titles I'm reading right now. So how do you see not only just what those big things are that are coming, autonomous driving cars, people that want to maybe lease versus own versus some other sort of hybrid method of engaging with a car, but also those little nuances that we see around the edges. And how do you then put all that together to figure out, if I only get your attention span for, I think we've got some people from Facebook and Twitter in the room, it's less than 2 seconds. Right, in terms of that scroll, in terms of that feed. Let alone just the average attention span for most consumers, which is about 5.7, I think it is, or so seconds. So we need ideas to figure out what does all that mean? Because it's not just so easy to say, here's a mobile ad, here's your out-of-home ad, right? Here's your TV ad, here's your streaming message, all of those good things. And then the consumer will just fall in line and fall down this lovely path. Not so much anymore. We've got lots and lots of opportunities, I think, to do things differently. The other thing I think that's really interesting that is especially true for us as a small little brand within a big category is this thing called the funnel. And I think I talked about this last time or a couple times ago when I was speaking at Mediapost. One of my favorite questions to ask people is, when was this invented? This thing called the sales and marketing funnel. Les, I'm looking at you over there, you know. 18... Yes! So... I had somebody yesterday in my office from Japan, from our headquarter office, and I was talking to him about the funnel because he said, how are you marketing? How are you able to do things differently with all the reduced budgets and all the pressures? Because we need to learn more from the US market. And I drew a picture of the funnel, and I said, this is the old way we used to think about it, right? It's getting lots of people in, and then fewer people. And then lovely, here we go at the bottom of this thing called the funnel, you buy our car or buy our product. First of all, as a little brand, we can't afford to do it that way any longer. We've got to be highly, highly targeted much, much earlier in your path. And the other thing is, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like going down a funnel these days. It just doesn't sound too much fun. I mean, I'm being a little silly, but you kind of get the idea. The path that people take is all over the place, right? We know there are dozens of different sources of information and influence. This is one that I've shared with our dealers not too long ago, because so many of them, when I first started about 10 or 11 months ago at Mitsubishi, oh, great, new CMO, you guys are going to put new TV ads up there, you're going to do some really cool things, really broad reach, we've got to be everywhere. It's like, have you seen our budgets? No, okay. And I'm like, I understand that. However, it's only a small fraction, really, of what we can influence these days is related to paid advertising, especially a brand like ours, right? We're asking consumers a favor to consider our brand. That's how I look at it. You've got lots of great choices. It's a level playing field. Cars are not the center of your universe, right? And we need to innovate. And you may not know who we are, what we're doing. So if I look at it as a favor, if you're looking at one of our ads in your feed, that changes the way I think about that idea or changes the way I think about that conversation. So this is what I tell dealers, right? When we talk about CX being important, when we talk about the experience of even advertising and marketing being better, this is where we have to be thinking about it, right? These are the real things that people tell us. You know, hey, who of you have bought a car in the last few years? Raise your hand. Yes, lots of people, right? How many? Okay, this is not fair because you're a media engaged audience, but chances are if I said, hold your hand up if it was only influenced by advertising. Oh, okay. Really? You must, where do you work? Oh, okay, nice. Well, yeah, it was, okay. Yeah, I love it. So, I mean, yes, advertising still plays a key role. I am not suggesting that it doesn't. But if we're to even tackle where the consumer's minds are right now, these are the things that they care more and more about. What's your reputation? How do you treat people? What are your reviews, right? What do people say about it that actually go to the dealership and what that experience looks like so that I can understand what to expect when I go in the store? Everybody wants to know what to expect. That's the beauty of social media. Now you don't have to guess anymore. There's a lot of folks that are telling you what it's going to look like, what it's going to taste like, what it's going to smell like, what it's going to sound like, all those good things. So what I tell dealers is it's awesome to have all that data and all that information, but you got to do something with it. And if you only care about bringing in that traffic, right, that is the magic word, and it still is right now, that's what our job is supposed to be, right? And dealers are like, I just got to get that traffic, get that weekend traffic in and sell those cars. No, yes, true, but do it through these channels in mind. You know, it matters to consumers if more than 80% of their purchase is influenced by the things that are up here versus the things that, you know, your outbound marketing and messaging that are absolutely relevant and important, but it's not the end of the, it's not the be and all, I should say, any longer. Okay, so there's this little brand called Mitsubishi that Tanya drove many moons ago. How many of you drove a Mitsubishi back in the day? Okay, right, yeah, I love it. So a few of us, a handful. So we're up against, you know, the Goliath, so to speak, right? I think we have a lot to learn still. We have a lot to understand about not only how we capture your attention, but how do we actually, you know, get you to, I guess, learn about our brand maybe in a different way, given everything I've just said. And how do we compete in amongst giants, literally? That's a really big question for us right now. And it's an interesting one when I've got consumers, and indulge me please, because I just came from focus groups on Sunday. We have a new car coming out next year, yay! And I wrote down some quotes. You know, I love hearing consumers and what they say about our brands, and this is a bit different for me. Again, the brands I've been with, you wouldn't hear quite the same things. Never been in one before, don't see them on the road. Do they still make cars? Okay, well, obviously we do, because we recruited you to come to this event and look at our car. Oops, right? Please tell me that's what happened. Not on my radar, and not top of mind when I think about buying a car. So, we've got to figure out a different way to clear through all this crazy clutter, get you to engage, 1.8 seconds, 5.7 seconds, whatever it might be, that window and that favor that we have, because this will go to the next thing, maybe. Come on, you. I know you want to. Mitsubishi, who? Is something that we heard almost in every focus group in terms of conversations that people are hearing and engaging with when they think about cars. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think Mitsubishi, who? I'm not sure. Do you guys make elevators or TVs or other things like that? I don't know who you are. So, if as a CMO I take a meeting with one of you in this room and you pitch your idea and say this is awesome and great in terms of, you know, awareness and getting people engaged around your brand, just think about this first, because if you can help me and help our brand solve this one, I think you can solve it for a lot of other brands, whether they're in automotive or they're in other categories. So it's a unique challenge, I grant that, but something that we've got to grapple with and we do need help with. And the reality is we have to think like a challenger brand, right? Many of you, I'm sure, have heard that term many times. You know, we're trying to punch above our weight, get people engaged, and do things differently. And if we think about ourselves, and I say this to a lot of folks, as a smaller version of every other auto brand out there, forget it. It's not going to work. How do we compete? There are just too many good choices. So what we talk about is looking outside of auto for inspiration, right? Mediapost and others have done articles on this thing called small batch. And one of the things I talk about is not only what keeps me up at night in terms of being a marketer and what that means for today's world and climate in an industry that's really changing and needs new thinking. We can't necessarily think new thinking if we only are looking from within. And what I'm not suggesting is people in auto aren't doing amazing things. Of course, we all are. But I look as a little tiny brand and a sea of bigger brands at those brands like the ones up here, particularly the ones on the left over here with Away, Glossier, Dollar Shave Club, Warby Parker, Casper, et cetera, Peloton, that took on a category, not trying to be necessarily like everybody else, right? They weren't trying to be a smaller player in a bigger market and say, yeah, we're just going to be like Sealy Mattress, but we're just going to be a smaller brand that you've never heard of before with no money behind us, and please give us a try, right? Gillette certainly wasn't looking as Dollar Shave Club as a threat in the beginning because they weren't trying to be just like them. They're trying to say, what is a pain point that we can solve for that we can do differently? Or how do we just reinvent the category? I mean, who would have thought that luggage would be coveted like it is now, I would argue, with Away? And you look at others that have away bags, or at least I do, and there's more and more of them now in airports, and you think, yeah, that's kind of like me. And it's something that I wouldn't have cared about in that way maybe a year or two ago. And again, remember that level playing field with auto. We've got to bring this type of thinking to the table, whether that be direct to consumer, hybrid brick and mortar with Nordstrom, Target. Obviously, Amazon's changed the entire conversation. And if it can be that easy to get whatever I want in a day or less, or 2 hours for my groceries, why can't I buy a car in less than a few hours, right? Why does it have to take 5 hours to buy a car? That's the one question that just drives me crazy. So more coming from that, or that idea. So there's lots of great brands that we can learn from. But ultimately, as a challenger brand, to kind of sum up the strategy and the narrative going into small batch, if we just talk about our cars, we've got great horsepower, we've got great styling, we've got heritage, we've got all-wheel drive, right? We have a brand that's been around for 100 years. You just might not have heard about us for a while. Is that really enough? When we're competing with the Toyotas and the Hondas and the Chevys and the Fords, the Hyundais, the Subarus, the Mazdas, et cetera, of the world. At least for the audience that everybody's coveting, which we all know is Gen Z and Gen Y. And if they don't look at you as, oh yeah, I'm a Subaru fan, that's it, that's all I want, that's really hard for us to break through. But for those who are saying, I don't know, what's a cool car now? It's my Lyft driver on the way up here. Oh, you're going to the auto show, what's the best car? I'm on a phone call, do you mind? Right? They're like, you must be in a Lyft ride, someone's talking to you. I'm like, I'm so sorry, just let me put myself on mute. Anyway, I said, the reality is, sir, there are many great cars out there. Every brand has got something to offer. If you don't, you're going to be irrelevant. So if we just sell cars, we're missing out on a massive opportunity. It's got to be different, guys. We've got to do something else. We have to go back to the things that influence 80% or more of your purchase. And again, it's not going to just be advertising or marketing. It's going to be other things to make sure we give our customers a great experience, right? The hardest thing to do. Not even making a car that can drive itself or do things we never thought possible. The hardest part of it is influencing the dealership experience. So mark my words, small batch style. We're going to have something coming out in a few-ish months that's going to start at least to tip the conversation, hopefully in a different direction. So we'll see. Watch this space. So we've got to change what we're selling. Otherwise, we're going to be irrelevant. When I first came here, we were talking, lovely funnel, right? And I do this now in rooms. I say, we were talking to all of you, not literally all of you guys, but let's just say in a room of people, like 100 different people. We were following that awareness path with the funnel. And then I came in and I'm like, well, we can't afford this. We're talking to people that are basically in market for a car that are adults with a driver's license that are thinking about our segments. And we can't compete. We've got to do this, and we've got to do this, and we've got to do this, and we've got to do this. We have to be much more pointed and targeted, right, with our messaging. We've got to find people who are actually like, hey, not only am I in your segment, but I actually am interested in your brand. I'm actually at least not going to shut the door. I will do the favor, and I will open the door, and I'll say, okay, I haven't heard of you, but I will at least look at what you have to say. You better catch my attention between somewhere 1 second and 6 seconds. So keep that in mind if you're pitching anything right now, okay? No pressure, but you've got 6 seconds to give us your best. I'll give you 2. I love that. Give us a 2-second pitch. Forget about the 1-hour meeting. It's going to be the 1-minute meeting, a 10-second pitch, a 2-second idea. Okay, mark my words. All right, so we got to change who we're selling to as a challenger brand. This one I already mentioned before a little bit about the dealer experience, but we know it is so hard to change this industry when it comes to really not only convincing dealers to do it differently, because I think now they understand that. We all understand that, why do I have to wait 5 hours in a dealership when I know what I wanted, right? I came in, I had my mind made up. Why is it such a roller coaster ride? And the reality is because it's not just technology, it's not just the brick and mortar, it's not just wanting to do things digitally, it's not just your product, it's the people and the culture and the mindset of those that are in this industry. And they've been in it for a very long time, for the most part, right? That's slowly changing. You've got new generations of people that are running stores that are doing things a bit differently, and they see that there's potential. But you got to just bear with us because, again, we know as an industry this is our biggest pain point. Why does this matter? All the things I mentioned before. Reviews, your customer experience, what other people think of you. You can have the best advertising campaign. The best advertising campaign. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And I've heard it, and it just breaks your heart when someone goes, and I went in the store, what happened to your small batch? Whoa, this isn't what I thought. You know, it took me forever. They weren't sure what they had. It was difficult to navigate. I gave up. And that's like, oh, man. So whatever things we do in this room as media and marketers and advertisers, we've got to figure out to connect it all the way back to that purchase and make it great. So it's not the roller coaster ride. It just keeps getting better from every moment. Because I don't know about you, but I like great content. I love it. Advertising agency right here. Love you guys. I love it. But when it does this and it does this and it just doesn't seem to kind of follow that path down this funnel, right, down the lovely funnel that gets smaller and smaller and you finally just get down to the bottom, then it's not a good customer experience. And how then am I going to tell everybody that I love your brand? So the last thing is we can't have a business as usual mentality. I think this goes without saying, right? As a challenger, we've got to figure out how to do it all differently and do something with what we have that you wouldn't expect. And I think that's where the sky's the limit, right? Creativity is awesome when it comes to constraint. So we've got to change literally everything. The brochure, the point of sale, the website, the messaging in our advertising, the customer experience, the talent that's in the room so we can solve these things better, the way we work with agencies, all of it. So when someone says, oh, automotive, conservative and blah, 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 I'm like, no, you have no idea. It's pretty freaking awesome right now because we have a lot of things to do. And just briefly, Mitsubishi, I think, is well positioned to do a lot of this change. Right? We've got a leadership team that wants to do it differently. They have to evolve. Right? It's kind of that survival mode of we need to do it differently now. We can't wait. We've also got a product lineup that's in that sweet spot with CUVs and SUVs for the most part. We do still have sedans. 1, 2. And we have a small dealer network. We only cover about 61% of the country with about 360 or so stores. So it's easier for us as a small brand to be able to be more agile and make decisions more quickly, which I think is great for all of you in the room who want to get to something different in a more fast way, if you will. So our transformational plan, how are we going to do this and make all this happen? We have a new brand strategy, which I've talked about a bit, that led us to small batch. Punching above our weight, thinking differently, changing every single thing that we do. And every department in our company was involved, not just marketing, just so you know. We have a new Tier 3 program to help our dealers do digital differently. And again, I hinted there will be more of that coming. We take nothing for granted that digital is not going to solve it all. If it did, it would have already. A very different culture. We're about to move to Nashville. Many of you may know this. And so we have almost 90% of my team will be new. And that's the case for most departments. So a different culture, which is great. Operationalizing collaboration. So when you come and meet with me or with my team, I will likely have our agency partners with us. I treat them all as one team, and they are fabulous. I'm one of the luckiest people in the world because I have a team that actually wants to work together. They want to do things differently, and there's none of this silo mentality or who invented what or any of that. Any of that, which is so rare. I haven't had that before. And that makes us faster at saying yes to something, asking questions, engaging, and making things happen. That I think is going to be much more comprehensive across every channel and everything that we do. New audience I mentioned before, right? Not just people that are in market, in this segment, but that they're open-minded and they'll give us a shot, right? It's the give us the shot segment. So more on that later. Just give us a chance. We're a little Mitsubishi. It's going to go. And then it's not surprising, much more targeted media. We just can't, I love you guys all. I love all of you. I don't know many of you. I know some of you. But it's got to be this. We've got to be much more deliberate in terms of who we're talking to because we just can't do it otherwise. This led us to small batch, which is our new creative theme. I mentioned it a few times already. It is very much about thinking big, but really from a mindset of being small and doing things in a really unique and fun way. So we also are doing this across multiple different things, not only just our advertising, honing in on the fact that we are small but beautiful and mighty and all those great things, and we're going to approach things that way and be really, really creative, but also in our CSR, in the events that we do, ride and drives, things like that. You will see a lot more from this tiny little brand of just how we're trying to punch above our weight and literally do everything differently. So with that, I have a little video. Wouldn't be marketing without a video, right? If you're all awake and you're looking at your phones or your laptops, look up momentarily. I promise you it's worth the 6 seconds, plus. I've got a couple of spots, and then I've got a little something that we put together for a CSR effort that we did with Rebel Rally recently, which was one of the most awesome things ever. So think small batch, messaging, sound off, sound will be on here, designed for mobile, friendly for a different generation that may not know us at all, and have a little bit of fun, okay?
Get up to 0% APR for 72 months on select 2019 models.
So no modifications to the car. I think tires were the only thing I should say. So, and the one thing that team asked for, they love that car, by the way, and it punched above its weight with almost every other car that was in the race for what it is, was that it just needed a tiny bit more power, and that was it. So fantastic experience. So small budget, small little team, small little moment in time. How can we make a bigger impact? How can we do things small batch style? So if you hear of us say that a lot in the next year or so, hopefully it's a good thing. Hopefully you'll get inspired by it, because I love great ideas. And my team does too. So if you've got them, let us know. Tanya, you want to come back up?
Thank you so much, Kimberly. That was just fantastic. I think we've got time for just a couple of quick questions. I just have a real easy one. How is the move going to affect marketing? I know California to Tennessee, you mentioned that you'd have a lot of new people, and any other thoughts about that?
I think because we are so nimble as it is, we're really used to working remotely across different groups. BSSP, our advertising agency, is up in the Bay Area. OMD is here, but we've got other folks. Circus is here as well. So we're going to make sure that we make it easy for everybody to be in close communication. Again, I'm super lucky. We're like a little family. It's so easy for us to collaborate from like second one on anything. So the idea of us not being close just because we're not close proximity, I don't think will be an issue for us. So,
back here.
Hi, it's Scotty Reese from A Girl's Guide to Cars.
Hey.
Hello. So I just wanted to say that your team in Rebel Rally placed third in a field of 50.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. That was an amazing accomplishment for the car and for the team. But I do have a question. How do you take something like that and apply it to your dealer networks and get your dealers involved? It's such a great program, but how do we get it at a local level?
Yeah, awesome question. And we will be announcing something in December that will help our dealers actually get involved in about 50 different locations across the country. We're going to start a little small. But that idea of how do they support their communities one car at a time with something called the Community Utility Vehicle Initiative. So it's going to be small batch. It'll be little. but it's something that dealers can make a bit of an impact. So, and thank you for mentioning third place. I meant to do that. They did awesome. They were fantastic. So, guys good?
Another one? No?
Small batched out? I love it.
I have a testimonial for you, Kimberly, real quick.
Yes.
When I was 22, I'll be quick. When I was 22, one of my best friends, his aunt died, sadly.
Oh.
And he received a check for $38,000. And the next day, he went and bought a Mitsubishi 3000 GT with all of his money. So
Wow.
There you go. I don't know if that's happy news or not, but that happened. Just wanted to
It's
share.
an opportunity.
There you go.
Sure.
There you go.
Something to think about. Thanks, guys.